Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Renegade Immortal episode number 137 based on novel. So let's start. Wang Lin was standing outside of the crack. At this moment, his eyes lit up and he reached out with his right hand and said, "Collect." After he said that, there was a series of angry howls from the heavenly ghost. At the same time, a ray of black light charged out of the crack and pounced at Wang Lin. Wang Lin quickly backed up, but the black light chased after him. Wang Lin coldly snorted as he touched his bag of holding with his right hand and took out the soul lasher. He waved the whip, causing the heavenly ghost to let out a painful groan and slow down. The soul lasher specialized in injuring the soul, and the heavenly ghost had no real body and was the soul of a first-class spirit. The heavenly ghost became even more fierce under the pain. It decided to ignore the pain and charge toward Wang Lin. Its face was extremely fierce and filled with killing intent. The two strands of grey gas moved through its body like needles and continued to absorb large amounts of the heavenly ghost's life force. But at this moment, the heavenly ghost ignored it completely and charged at Wang Lin. Everywhere the heavenly ghost passed by, the grass withered and turned yellow. It looked very strange. Wang Lin's eyes became cold. He stopped moving backwards and waved the soul lasher. With a series of lashings, the heavenly ghost began letting out miserable groans. Finally, it couldn't withstand the pain anymore and turned around to escape. Wang Lin knew that this was the heavenly ghost's weakest moment. Once it escapes and recovers, it will be very troublesome to deal with. After searching Lu Yun's memories, he knew that the heavenly ghost first needed 7 days and then 49 days to recover. He almost didn't hesitate at all as he threw the soul lasher. The soul lasher shot out at the heavenly ghost like a fierce dragon. The heavenly ghost was very vicious. Seeing that it couldn't escape, it turned around and opened its mouth to spit out green fire. A large amount of green fire appeared and surrounded the soul lasher in a sea of green flames. This green fire was the heavenly ghost's life flame and also its most powerful attack. The hatred the ghost had toward Wang Lin was light compared to the hatred he felt toward the whip. What the ghost really hated was the whip. In its eyes, this whip was made especially for dealing with heavenly ghosts. Even if it died, it had to destroy this whip. In its memories, it had only heard of one treasure that was like this, but that treasure has long disappeared from this realm and should no longer exist. It decided that it must destroy this strange treasure that was designed to deal with heavenly ghosts. That's why even though it was so weak, it still used its life flame. At the moment it spat out its life flame, Wang Lin's expression changed. Wang Lin knew how powerful the heavenly ghost was and was hesitant, but this was the weakest the heavenly ghost will ever be, which is why he came to capture it. But at this moment, when he saw the flame, his heart trembled. Even though he wasn't being hit by it directly, he still felt its power. Instead of burning the body, this flame burned the soul. In almost an instant, he felt a burning pain in his origin soul. Right now he had no time for his heart to ache for the soul lasher, so he quickly retreated. But just at this moment, crackling sounds came from the soul lasher. Then a ray of golden light came from the whip. This golden light only appeared for an instant and then disappeared without a trace. But just that one flash caused Wang Lin's eyes to narrow. With one flash of golden light, the green flames immediately extinguished. They didn't slowly extinguish, it was as if there was a giant hand that smashed down and extinguished them all in an instant. After the flames were extinguished, the heavenly ghost revealed a strange expression as if couldn't believe what just happened. It let out a sharp scream before quickly running away. But it was too late. That flash of golden light not only caused the flames to extinguish, it also made the heavenly ghost's body more transparent. The heavenly ghost let out a terrified scream as it quickly dissipated. Wang Lin moved as fast as lightning and reached out toward the soul lasher. The whip trembled before quickly flying back into Wang Lin's hand. While holding the whip, Wang Lin let out a sigh of relief. The golden light from the whip earlier was simply too strange. He then looked at the heavenly ghost again. If it wasn't for Wang Lin quickly grabbing the whip, the ghost would have already died. Even now it was dying and its body was slowly dissipating. Wang Lin slapped his bag of holding and took out the soul flag. With one wave of the soul flag, he captured the heavenly ghost, and due to the special environment inside the flag, the heavenly ghost stopped dissipating. After doing all of this, Wang Lin carefully looked at the soul lasher. There was some change to the whip after being burned by the green flame. There were now some pieces of the leather that had curled up and were very sturdy. While examining it, Wang Lin suddenly had a weird feeling. After being burned by the flame, it seemed like a python that was shedding its skin, only it had just started and was not even close to being done. Shortly after, Wang Lin put the whip away. He then looked into the distance and after figuring out the right direction, he bolted away. 3 days later, Wang Lin saw the valley in the distance. At this moment, the formation around the valley was giving off a powerful pressure. Wang Lin was very familiar with this pressure. It came from the restriction flag. When Wang Lin left, he took out the restriction flag. With the restriction flag helping the formation, the people of the valley were safe from the waves of demonic spiritual energy. He moved like lightning and quickly arrived outside the valley. With one step, he walked through the formation. He had already broken the formation once, and with the restriction flag inside it, it could be said that Wang Lin could do as he pleased with the formation. At the moment he appeared inside the valley, he saw the people that lived inside. They were listening to Ouyang Hua talk at the center of the valley. Ouyang Hua immediately saw Wang Lin and revealed a look of joy. He walked past all of the people and bowed to Wang Lin from a distance. "I welcome your return, Supreme Celestial." There was not a hint of disrespect in him at all. He personally saw Wang Lin leave with another foreigner, and now Wang Lin had returned on his own. That could only mean one thing: Wang Lin had killed the other foreigner. In Ouyang Hua's view, once two foreigners met, they would be in a life and death situation. The deepest part of the valley is a restricted area. Don't go there. After Wang Lin left those words, he disappeared before everyone's eyes and went into the depths of the valley. Ouyang Hua revealed a hint of ecstasy. With Supreme Celestial holding down the fort here, their safety was assured. Also, it would make expansion a lot easier. Thinking about this, Ouyang Hua revealed a hint of fanaticism. He turned around to look at the villagers and shouted, "No one is allowed to enter the depths of the valley. All of you, watch your children well, don't break the tribal law." The surrounding villagers all nodded, but there were also those with an unhappy expressions. One of them muttered, "Why can't we go there? That is the only cool place in the valley." Ouyang Hua stared at the person and shouted, "This is the tribal law. From today onward, that is added to the tribal law, and anyone who breaks it will be kicked out to fend for themselves." With that, everyone who was opposed to it became silent and no one dared to say anything more about it. Feeling that he had said it a bit too harshly, Ouyang Hua coughed and said, "This valley is too small, we should move. Your families should have more women. Our tribe should also get a bit bigger." The surrounding villagers' eyes became red and revealed hints of madness. One of them took a few steps forward and asked, "Elder, are we about to go to war?" Ouyang Hua ruthlessly nodded. Wang Lin was sitting in the lotus position in the depths of the valley. The reason Wang Lin decided to stay here was because he had other plans. To stay in the demon spirit land, he needed to have a foothold, strength, and military exploits. He had to go to ancient demon city, but before doing that, he had to make some preparations. There was a certain difficulty to creating his own foothold in ancient demon city. Also, according to Lu Yun's memories, the left-wing general's mansion had many experts. These people were all original inhabitants of this place. Their cultivation was focused on demonic spiritual energy, and so were their spells. Although Wang Lin hadn't met anyone who used demonic spiritual energy, Lu Yun had met them, and Lu Yun's ancestor interacted with people like that for a long period of time. If it was before searching Lu Yun's memories, Wang Lin would have gone to ancient demon city without any hesitation, but now he changed his mind. "Instead of going to ancient demon city to join the left-wing general's mansion, I'd rather stay here and teach the inhabitants of this place so that they will listen to my commands. I will teach them spells so that years from now, I'll have a force that belongs to me." Wang Lin revealed a pondering expression which then turned into a determined expression. People who achieve great things don't worry about trivial matters. I'll teach them the soul flag spells. These spells are easy to use and are good for killing. The more one kills, the more souls one can gather, and their strength increases along with it. I can also use this chance to see if I can repair the 1 billion soul flag. If I can repair it, then I won't even have to be afraid of ascendant cultivators. I can definitely become top 10 out of all the cultivators that came in. Only by doing this will I have a chance of getting an ancient demon spirit at the end. While thinking about this, Wang Lin took a deep breath and touched his bag of holding. 2 pieces of jade appeared in his hand. He spread out his divine sense and left behind some chants within them. The soul refining sect had 3 spells: soul refining, soul extraction, and soul sealing. Soul sealing is something only the true disciple of the sect can learn. In fact, the soul sealing spell was made for the 1 billion soul flag. It is the spell to control it. As for soul refining and soul extracting, they are the roots of the soul refining sect. In addition to learning these 2 spells, creating their own soul flags is also an important part of truly becoming a disciple of the soul refining sect. Only after refining a soul flag can they be considered a real soul refining sect disciple. Soul refining is to refine already existing souls, and soul extracting is to extract the soul of a living person. Wang Lin only left the early stage of the soul refining and soul extracting chants inside the jades. Then he pondered a bit and left simple instructions on the production of soul flags. Using this method to create a soul flag would have a fatal flaw that only Wang Lin knew about. It could even be said that with this fatal flaw, he wouldn't even have to refine the person's soul flag to control it like it was his own. Wang Lin was a cautious person, so it was natural that he wouldn't teach someone without any reservation. After he was done with the jades, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out and covered the entire valley. Every villager inside the valley was unknowingly being observed by him. He found that almost all of them had really good talent, much stronger than his body when he started cultivating. While feeling regretful, Wang Lin was also happy. Although there wasn't any spiritual energy here, there was demonic spiritual energy. Maybe by using demonic spiritual energy to cultivate the soul flag, they might gain some benefits. With this idea in mind, Wang Lin's divine sense found Ouyang Hua, who was planning attacks on other villages and looking for potential places to live. After sending a message into Ouyang Hua's ear, Wang Lin withdrew his divine sense. Not long after, Ouyang Hua quickly ran to Wang Lin with a respectful expression. When he was pondering earlier, he suddenly heard Wang Lin's voice. He was startled for a moment and then quickly rushed over. Wang Lin threw the 2 pieces of jade at Ouyang Hua. Ouyang Hua was startled. He carefully looked at the jades and then became very excited as he asked, "Supreme Celestial, could these be demon jades?" "Demon jade, pretty much." Wang Lin searched through Lu Yun's memories and found that Lu Yun's ancestor had a record the word, demon jade. Ouyang Hua held the jade and took a deep breath. After looking at it for a long time, his old face turned red. A little embarrassed, he whispered, "Supreme Celestial, I only know that these things record things, I don't know how to read them." Press 1 against your forehead and imagine yourself viewing inside it. If your mind is firm, you will be able to see. If not, try it a few more times. With that, Wang Lin closed his eyes. Ouyang Hua took a deep breath as he sat down in the lotus position with the jade pressed against his forehead and tried to imagine viewing the jade. After a while, he revealed a bitter smile. No matter how hard he imagined, he wasn't able to see inside it. Although Wang Lin had his eyes closed, he was still observing Ouyang Hua. This person was the elder of this valley because when he went to ancient demon city to study, it was found that he had 1 rank of demonic spiritual energy. Although it was not enough to live inside the city, his status in the village increased greatly. Wang Lin could clearly see a thin, silk-like aura slowly moving in Ouyang Hua's dantian. However, this person's meridians were all blocked. Not only was the cycle of that sliver of aura slow, its range of movement was limited. Even so, this aura was able to act as the catalyst for the formation around the valley. With it, he could control the formation and even create a fake body. 1 hour later, Ouyang Hua couldn't help but give up. His face was filled with bitterness as he silently shook his head. Wang Lin opened his eyes and they lit up, then he waved his hand. Ouyang Hua exclaimed as he flew toward Wang Lin. Wang Lin held 2 fingers up from his left hand and suddenly pointed at Ouyang Hua's dantian. With 1 point, Ouyang Hua immediately let out a groan. There was a sharp pain coming from his dantian and large beads of sweat fell on the ground from his forehead. Although it was painful, he clenched his teeth. He knew that if Wang Lin wanted to kill him, there was no need to do all of this. If Wang Lin was doing this, it was most likely to help him. Someone of his age would normally be stuck at rank 1 forever, and it would be impossible for him to gain any more ranks of demonic spiritual energy. However, he had a feeling that if he grabbed hold of this chance, breaking through would no longer be just a dream. Wang Lin's finger that was pointed at Ouyang Hua's dantian slowly moved up. Every time he moved up half an inch, the pain Ouyang Hua felt would increase 1-fold. The sweat from his forehead fell like rain, his entire body trembled violently, and his face was completely pale. Wang Lin's expression was still normal. After raising his finger 3 inches, he calmly looked at Ouyang Hua and said, "Endure it." With that, his left hand suddenly rose from 3 inches all the way to Ouyang Hua's forehead. A miserable groan came out from Ouyang Hua's mouth and echoed across the entire valley. Ouyang Hua's eyes rolled back as he fell to the ground and became motionless. Wang Lin didn't look at him but continued to sit there. All of the villagers heard Ouyang Hua's miserable groan, but no one dared to go check. The tribal law was like a sword above their heads, so no one dared to break it. Several hours later, Ouyang Huan slowly opened his eyes. At the moment he opened them, he was completely stunned. The entire world suddenly seemed different to him. The flowers were still flowers, the grass was still grass, and the wall was still as sturdy as always, but in his eyes, everything was different. A feeling of being reborn echoed in Ouyang Hua's heart. He couldn't help but let out 2 streams of tears. He didn't need to check if he had reached 2 stars, where he can see tiny things. He respectfully knelt down before Wang Lin and kowtowed 3 times. "Thank you, Supreme Celestial." Although he didn't say much, the excitement and shock inside those words couldn't even be expressed in 10,000 words. Wang Lin nodded and said, "Check if you can see what is inside the demon jade." Ouyang Hua quickly picked up the jade, placed it on his forehead, and began to imagine. The chant inside the jade quickly imprinted into his memory. Ouyang Hua's body trembled as he took a deep breath to contain the excitement in his heart and said, "Junior has seen it." He unconsciously changed how he addressed himself. Wang Lin nodded. Earlier, he used his finger to open a meridian for Ouyang Hua by force. This method was simply too tyrannical and would have a lot of consequence in the future, but it was the quickest way to increase his cultivation. Wang Lin looked at Ouyang Hua and slowly said, "This chant is called soul refining. Listen carefully because I will only explain it to you once. Once you learn it, you will teach it to the villagers here." Ouyang Hua's excitement today was like one powerful wave after another. The increase in his cultivation already made him very excited. After seeing the chant inside the jade, his heart couldn't help but beat rapidly. He had a guess in his heart because he couldn't believe it was true. After all, spells were very rare in the demon spirit land, so there was no way for normal people to obtain them. Ouyang Hua took a deep breath and asked, in disbelief, "Supreme Celestial? Supreme Celestial, do you mean you will teach me this spell?" Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he nodded and said, "Not just you, I'm going to teach it to all the villagers here." Ouyang Hua's body trembled as he respectfully bowed and said, "Ouyang Hua will never forget what Supreme Celestial has done." These words came from his heart and were filled with sincerity. It has to be said that things like spells were controlled by very few people. With Ouyang Hua's ability, he would never have a chance of learning one, not to mention all the villagers. Wang Lin pointed out the key points of cultivating this spell. Ouyang Hua listened like a good student and his gratitude toward Wang Lin became even stronger. After Wang Lin finished speaking, Ouyang Hua did his ritual to pay his respects as a disciple and left. Seeing Ouyang Hua's actions made Wang Lin feel a bit shocked. However, he had just taught Ouyang Hua cultivation, so Ouyang Hua doing this ritual wasn't wrong. Time slowly passed, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months went by. Ouyang Hua was very diligent. He spent all of his time cultivating and studying the soul-refining spell. He even withheld the plans of attacking other villages and focused on studying this spell. His talent was already pretty good, and the soul-refining sex techniques were the easy-to-learn but difficult-to-master type, so after 3 months, he had made some progress. Not only him, but all of the males in the village had been cultivating under Ouyang Hua's teachings. Each of them had achieved different results. Wang Lin spent all 3 months of time cultivating to study the demon crystals. In 3 months of time, he was able to fuse the 2 crystals into one. This demon crystal contained a powerful amount of demonic spiritual energy, and around it were many tentacle-like things that moved around in a strange way. Rank 3 demon crystal. Wang Lin's eyes lit up as he opened his mouth and devoured the crystal. The crystal went into his dantian, then waves of demonic spiritual energy came out from the crystal and spread across his body. After allowing the demonic spiritual energy to cycle through his body for a week, Wang Lin's aura began to change. The current him no longer had the ethereal feeling of a celestial. He was now covered in demonic spiritual energy and looked very strange. Even his face was much more demonic, and his eyes would cause anyone's heart to tremble from just looking at them. This was a pair of extremely demonic eyes. His sharp, oval eyes would cause anyone's heart to tremble. Wang Lin raised his right hand, then he gently closed it and frowned. My body is filled with demonic spiritual energy, but unfortunately, there isn't enough. Even after using it all, I'm only around the foundation establishment stage. With one thought, all of demonic spiritual energy inside his body withdrew into the demon crystal and not a sliver was released. After the demonic spiritual energy withdrew, celestial spiritual energy quickly moved through Wang Lin's body, giving him an ethereal feeling once more. This demonic spiritual energy is interesting. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. In these 3 months, he walked out of the valley 3 times, and he taught the people cultivating the soul-refining spell each of the 3 times. The people of the valley all knew that this spell came from Wang Lin and that it was Wang Lin who gave them the chance to learn a spell. All of the fear and misunderstandings about Wang Lin completely disappeared and were replaced by endless respect and gratitude. All 3 times when Wang Lin came out, every villager who saw him dropped whatever they were doing and greeted him. Among the people that were cultivating the soul-refining spell, aside from Ouyang Hua, who was advancing quickly, there was another person that caught Wang Lin's attention. This person was the young man who Wang Lin followed to find this valley. This young man was very talented in cultivating the soul-refining spell. In just a short 3 months, he had already reached the 3rd stage, which was when one should make their own soul flag. Wang Lin had already taught Ouyang Hua the method of making the soul flag. However, the demon spirit land was lacking in materials, so making soul flags was going to be difficult. When he realized this, Wang Lin found some time to carefully think up a solution to the matter. He managed to use some of the steel trees, beast skins, and some seals to just barely make something that could imitate the effect. This substitute flag could only seal up to 10 souls, meaning the limit was a 10-soul soul flag. But this object won in terms of quantity because one could use 10 of these flags at the same time. Although it was not as strong as a 100-soul soul flag, it still had half the power. Same as the spells, Wang Lin hid a fatal flaw inside this substitute soul flag, and only he knew about this fatal weakness. After all, Wang Lin was the only person on planet Qianyun that knew the soul-refining sect spells. After imprinting the method of creating the new soul flag on a jade, Wang Lin spread out his divine sense and called over Ouyang Hua and the young man named 13. 13 was the young man Wang Lin secretly followed to find the valley. This person seemed to have natural affinity for the soul-refining sect spells. If Du Qian was still alive, he would definitely be shocked by this. 13 quickly stood before Wang Lin. He only felt respect and amazement toward the Supreme Celestial before him. The more he cultivated the soul-refining spell, the more amazement he felt in his heart. In the 3 months that he had been studying the spell, he came to the conclusion that if he could completely master it, its power would be beyond imagination. 10 soul flag, 100 soul flag, 1,000 soul flag, 10,000 soul flag. 13 took a deep breath and revealed a hint of excitement in his eyes. Oyenhua was much more experienced than 13, so he silently stood there with a look of respect. In truth, from the moment everyone began learning the soul-refining spell, the real authority of controlling the village gradually shifted from Oyenhua to Wang Lin. Almost everyone knew that Wang Lin was the real ruler here. Supreme Celestial, all 27 males in the village have begun cultivating the demon spell. Right now, besides 13, most are stuck at the first stage, and there are 6 that haven't even managed to get that far. Wang Lin sat there in the lotus position and nodded. Although the soul-refining spell was easy to learn, it wasn't for everyone. The fact that a large majority of the 27 people here had already reached the first stage would be a shocking news if it happened on Suzaku. After looking at 13, Wang Lin felt very satisfied with how fast this child was cultivating. Noticing Wang Lin's gaze on him, 13's back became straight and the excitement in his eyes became even stronger, and he said, "Supreme Celestial, 13 has already reached the 3rd stage. If I can create the soul flag, I can go out to find soul fragments to seal inside." Wang Lin faintly smiled as his right hand reached out and a jade silently appeared. He threw the jade and smiled. "The new method for making soul flags is in here." 13 caught the jade and revealed an extremely joyous expression. He took a deep breath as he pressed the jade against his forehead and began to imagine like Oyenhua taught him. Shortly after, his body lightly trembled and his eyes filled with excitement. He looked at Wang Lin and suddenly knelt down to the ground before heavily kowtowing 3 times. Wang Lin closed his eyes and slowly said, "You can leave. Focus all of your effort on creating the soul flag." 13 nodded, then he put down the jade and respectfully left. Oyenhua hesitated a bit. He looked at Wang Lin and then looked at the jade on the ground. Without Wang Lin's permission, he wouldn't dare to pick up the jade to check it. Wang Lin slowly said, "Look at it. You have already reached the 3rd stage. If you can successfully make one, your power will increase a lot when you use your demonic spiritual energy to seal a soul fragment." Oyenhua quickly picked up the jade and pressed it against his forehead. Shortly after, he took a deep breath and respectfully said, "Junior will go look for the materials to make it." With that, he pondered a bit and then said, "Supreme Celestial, once both me and 13 have successfully made soul flags, I plan on attacking a cave 500 kilometers away. There is another tribe there with a few dozen people." Wang Lin's expression remained the same as he said, "Do as you wish." Oyenhua nodded and quickly left. The news of attacking the cave in 1 month quickly spread across the village. For the members of the village, this was a big battle. Although the other side outnumbered them, thanks to the soul-refining spell, their chances of winning were high. During this 1 month of time, all of the males were full of energy as they cultivated the soul-refining spell. 13 left the village and gathered enough materials to make the soul flag. This child's affinity toward the soul-refining spell showed itself once more. After failing 3 times, he made his first soul flag. This first soul flag caused a big commotion inside the valley. Everyone surrounded 13, and the 7-inch flag in his hand became the focus of everyone's gazes. 13 was very excited to have those gazes on him. Oyenhua rubbed the beard on his chin and revealed a smile. In truth, he had already made a soul flag a few days before 13, but he didn't reveal it to everyone and allowed 13 to have the chance to shine. Oyenhua was like a sly, old fox, so he naturally noticed that 13 seemed to have caught Supreme Celestial Wang Lin's attention. Adding on the facts that he was getting old and that the future didn't belong to him, it seemed like it will belong to 13. Someone from the crowd asked, "Little 13, the soul flag is only useful once you have sealed a soul fragment inside. When will you go capture a soul fragment to seal inside?" The others all agreed. 13 let out a snort and said, "Who said I haven't sealed a soul fragment inside? All of you, look closely." With that, his right hand formed a seal and demonic spiritual energy gathered from all directions to form a green light that flashed at the tip of his finger. He pointed at the soul flag and the flag immediately shook. A ray of black gas suddenly flew out, turning into a wild beast that looked like a lion with wings. Right after the beast appeared, it let out a roar that shocked everyone. Oyenhua's eyes narrowed, and he was shocked by it. 13 revealed a proud expression as he pointed at the beast and shouted, "Attack!" The lion-like soul fragment revealed a vicious gaze as he charged out and slammed into the wall. There was a loud bang and cracks appeared on the wall. There was not a bit of damage on the lion soul fragment. Waves of exclamations came from the surrounding people, and their looks of admiration made 13 very proud. He accidentally found this flying lion when he entered the forest this time. The beast had received mortal injuries and had just died. 13 clenched his teeth and risked using the soul refining spell. After many tries, he succeeded in refining the soul and sealing it inside the soul flag. 13 took a deep breath as he waved his hand and shouted, "Return!" With that, he waved the soul flag in his hand, but at this moment, the lion soul fragment turned to look at 13 with a vicious gaze. It moved like lightning, but not toward the soul flag, it was charging at 13. The viciousness in its eyes had turned into killing intent. 13's expression changed. He held up the soul flag and shouted, "Return!" The lion soul completely ignored the command as it charged over and everyone else scattered. Oyenghua clenched his teeth and charged out. Now there was a 3-inch flag in his hand. With one shake, there was a flash of green light and a small, sparrow-like bird flew out and charged toward the lion. As the lion soul was charging, it suddenly turned around and roared at the small bird. The roar seemed to have a piercing effect, causing the small bird to slow down. Taking this moment, the lion soul fragment moved like lightning and arrived next to 13. It opened its bloody mouth and tried to devour 13. 13's face was completely pale. He wanted to retreat, but it felt like there was a mysterious force preventing him from moving. He could only watch as the bloody mouth became larger and larger, like it was covering the entire world. Just at this moment, a cold snort came out from the valley like lightning. What followed after the cold snort was a voice that was colder than winter. "Damn beast, you dare!" When the voice entered 13's ears, it was as if he was hearing a sound from heaven. He quickly shouted, in a voice filled with panic, "Supreme Celestial, save me!" The same voice landed in the lion's ears like raging thunder, causing its body to violently tremble and almost collapse. The reason it didn't collapse was not because it was strong, but because Wang Lin didn't want it to collapse. It completely stopped charging, and without any hesitation, the lion let out a miserable cry before turning around to escape. At this moment, a person walked out from inside the valley. With one step, Wang Lin crossed dozens of feet and appeared in the sky. The lion soul fragment's body trembled. It could feel that there was a power that it couldn't resist at all coming from the person before it. When facing this person, it wasn't able to resist at all. A feeling of terror slowly entered its heart until it completely drowned it. The lion soul fragment let out a pitiful cry. It no longer tried to escape and lied down in a submissive pose. The fear in its eyes was very strong. This scene completely shocked everyone inside the valley. Even Oyenghua was completely dumbfounded, and his deep sense of respect for Wang Lin grew in his heart. This kind of respect would last for hundreds of years. The excitement in 13's eyes deepened. When he looked at Wang Lin, his heart filled with respect. If the two of them were like this, there was no need to talk about the others. In truth, the reason why the lion soul fragment feared Wang Lin so much was mainly due to the fatal flaw that Wang Lin left on the spell and soul flag. All of the soul fragments sealed by people who learned from Wang Lin's modified spell could be suppressed and controlled by Wang Lin. This video will end here.